Far, far away, in the deepest parts of space, there was a big group called the Galactic Council. This council was made up of many different kinds of aliens from all over the galaxy. They had fuzzy aliens, smooth aliens, aliens that shimmered, and aliens that looked like walking plants. Their main job was to keep peace and understand all the different life forms living among the stars. One day, the council decided it was time for a massive project. They wanted to learn everything they could about every intelligent species they knew about. They wanted to see how they lived, what they ate, what made them happy, and most importantly, what they did to relax after a long day. They believed that how a species relaxed would tell them a lot about whether they were peaceful or likely to cause trouble. A special team was put together for this project. One of the teams was given a fascinating but somewhat confusing assignment. Study the species from the third planet, orbiting a yellow star in a quiet arm of the galaxy. These aliens called themselves humans, and their planet was known as Earth. The research team was led by a being named Zorp Glorbax. Zorp was a vrebe, a species known for being very calm, very organized, and looking a bit like a walking, talking jellyfish. Zorp had a team of experts, including data analysts who looked like shiny silver beetles, and field agents who could become invisible. They traveled to the solar system where Earth was located and set up their main observation post high above the planet in a special ship that was completely hidden. From there, they could watch everything happening on the surface without anyone knowing. "All right, team," Zorp's voice hummed softly through the ship's speakers. "Our mission is clear. Observe the humans, catalog their daily activities, pay close attention to their downtime, their hobbies, what they do when they are not working or building things. We want to understand their methods of stress relief." The vrebe species, like Zorp, relaxed by floating in silent, warm pools that changed colors. Other species the council knew relaxed by listening to gentle hums, arranging crystals in calming patterns, or sharing pleasant thoughts through a group mind link. They expected humans might do something similar, maybe gentle singing, peaceful gathering, or quiet contemplation. "Initial scans show high levels of activity across the planet," reported one of the shiny beetle analysts, whose name was Unit 7G. "Movement is constant in their large ground centers they call cities. Energy readings are erratic, much more chaotic than anticipated for a Class 4 sentient world." Zorp adjusted slightly in his floating chair. "Interesting. Let us begin our detailed observations. Focus on the periods they mark as evening and weekend. That is when most species engage in relaxation." The team started watching. They focused their sensors and tiny hidden cameras on different parts of the planet. They watched humans in their small dwelling places, in parks, and in large gathering areas. At first, they saw some seemingly normal activities, preparing food, communicating using small flat devices, and caring for their young. But soon, they started seeing other things. Things that didn't fit the profile of a relaxing species. Things that began to confuse and slightly worry the calm, organized vrebe and his team. This was going to be a much stranger survey than they had expected. The alien research team, led by Zorp Glorbax, kept watching the humans closely during their evenings and what they called weekends. This was supposed to be the time when humans rested and did things to feel calm. But what the aliens saw was different. Very different. "Data analysis incoming," buzzed Unit 7G, the beetle-like analyst. "Subject Group 3 Delta, located in a region they call North America, is currently engaging in a common weekend activity." Zorp floated closer to the main view screen. On the screen, humans were gathered in a large open field. They were wearing protective gear and hitting each other while trying to get a strangely shaped object. They would run, tackle each other hard, and fall onto the ground. Loud shouts came from the humans on the field, and the even larger group watching from raised seats. "Observe the energy output," Zorp hummed. his form rippling slightly in surprise. High physical exertion, increased heart rates, loud vocalizations indicating distress or excitement. This doesn't match any known relaxation profile. Comparing energy signatures to our historical database, Unit 7G processed. Match found. Low-intensity tribal border dispute, recorded on Glagon 7, cycle form 52. Similarity score, 88%. Zorp's ripples became more pronounced. They relax by simulating border disputes. This was not in their textbooks about peaceful species. They watched other groups. In one area, humans were hitting a small white ball with sticks, then running quickly across grass. Sometimes they'd hit the ball very far, and other humans would chase it. If they didn't hit it well, they would sometimes yell things the universal translator politely labeled as high-stress vocalizations. Then they observed something called running. Humans would willingly run for long distances, sometimes in groups, sometimes alone. They looked tired, their faces often squeezed tight with effort. Some even ran when it was raining or very cold. Why would anyone do this unless they were being chased? One day, the team focused on a group of humans near a large body of water. These humans were strapping boards to their feet and being pulled behind fast-moving vehicles, bouncing and splashing on the water. They would often fall hard, disappearing under the waves for a moment before popping back up, shaking their heads. "Query," chirped a small, insectoid team member responsible for psychological profiles. Their facial expressions during these activities, they show signs of struggle, even pain. Yet, when they finish, many display wide smiles and appear happy? It is illogical. Unit 7G pulled up more data, analyzing activities labeled extreme sports. Subjects willingly propel themselves down snowy mountains at high speeds on boards, jump from flying vehicles with fabric wings, and climb sheer rock faces using only small handholds. The data analyst's metallic voice clicked with something akin to confusion. The risk of severe physical injury is statistically significant in these activities, higher than 95% of documented hunting practices on less developed worlds. Zorp the Vrebe felt something unfamiliar swirling inside his usually calm form. Was it concern? These humans didn't relax like normal beings. They didn't seek peace and quiet to recover. They seemed to actively seek out physical challenge, loud noises, high speeds, and even simulated conflict. The initial assumption that Earth was a Class 4 sentient world, moderately interesting, but peaceful, was starting to feel very, very wrong. The data they were collecting painted a picture of a species that seemed to thrive on intensity, even in their downtime. The border dispute comparison from Unit 7G kept replaying in Zorp's mind. How could stress relief look so much like fighting? Back on their hidden ship high above Earth, Zorp and his team were busy. The observation period for human relaxation time was over, and now came the hard part, understanding the data they had collected. The main analysis room wasn't fancy. It was filled with holographic displays showing charts, graphs, and streams of numbers. Unit 7G and the other beetle-like analysts clicked and whirred, sorting through everything the sensors had picked up. The psychological expert, the insectoid being, reviewed the facial expressions and body language captured in thousands of videos. Summary of energy output during human stress relief activities, Unit 7G announced, projecting a complex graph. Average physical energy expenditure is comparable to that of a Class 3 laborer species during a standard work cycle. Peak outputs in activities such as football and rock climbing briefly reached levels seen in recorded combat between early-stage warrior species. Zorp's form pulsed a worried shade of violet. Combat. Are you certain, Unit 7G? Data confidence is 99.8%, the analyst responded flatly. Comparing physiological markers, increased adrenaline-like substances in the bloodstream, rapid respiration rates, muscle tension. These match profiles for fight-or-flight responses across multiple Class 4 species. The psychological expert projected images of human faces during various activities. "Observe," it chirped. "In marathons, long-distance running, subjects exhibit signs typically associated with prolonged hardship or evasion. Yet, upon completion, the shift to expressions of triumph or relief is immediate and extreme. It is as if they are simulating escaping a predator, then celebrating their survival." Another analyst, who specialized in sound, presented audio data. "The music concerts involve sonic frequencies and decibel levels similar to recorded atmospheric re-entry events or localized seismic activity," they reported. "The rhythmic group movements and vocalizations resemble tribal war chants more closely than any known form of calming auditory therapy." Zorp looked at the overwhelming evidence. It wasn't just one or two weird things. It was a pattern across many different human activities they labeled as fun or relaxing. Jumping from planes, intentionally crashing motorized vehicles in races, hitting each other with padded sticks, lifting incredibly heavy objects, immersing themselves in painfully loud noise. None of it made sense as relaxation for a species that wasn't constantly preparing for conflict. Cross-referencing against the Galactic Council's Species Behavior Index, Unit 7G continued. Species indexed as peaceful or contemplative show stress relief patterns involving low energy output, focus on harmony, and avoidance of physical impact or loud stimuli. Species indexed as aggressive or expansionist often have relaxation methods that involve sparring, weapon practice, or strategic simulations. A new line appeared on the screen. Human stress relief activities fall squarely within the statistical range of aggressive species training exercises. The air in the observation ship felt heavy. Zorp looked at his team. The calm Vrebe, the logical beetles, the observant insectoid. They were all showing signs of deep confusion and growing concern. Their mission was simple: understand the humans. But the more they understood what humans did to relax, the less they understood the humans at all. If this was how they acted when they were not fighting, what were they like when they were? The thought sent a ripple of genuine unease through Zorp. The report they would have to send back to the Galactic Council was not going to be pleasant. It was going to sound completely unbelievable, yet the data was solid. Humanity's downtime looked alarmingly like low-level war. Days blurred into cycles of data streams and worried discussions on the alien ship. Zorp Glorbax and his team double-checked their findings. They ran the numbers again. They compared the human activity metrics not just to border disputes, but to military drills, gladiatorial games from ancient histories, and even predator-prey interactions on dangerous worlds. Every analysis came back with similar results. The energy levels, the physiological responses, the risk factors, the noise, the physical contact. When humans were trying to relax, their actions looked incredibly similar to how other species behaved when they were preparing for or engaging in conflict. Finally, it was time to write the official report summary for the Galactic Council. Zorp sat before the main console, his form pulsing with the weight of the discovery. Unit 7G projected the final, summarized data onto the screen. "Formal conclusion processing," Unit 7G announced in its metallic voice, devoid of emotion, which somehow made the findings even more chilling. "Based on observation cycles and comprehensive data analysis of activities designated by subjects as stress relief, recreation, and hobbies." A stark line of text appeared on the main display. Conclusion: human stress relief activities are statistically indistinguishable from active warfare. Zorp stared at the words. They were so plain, so direct, yet they described something utterly baffling. How could relaxation look like war? Breaking down the statistics, Unit 7G continued, activity soccer involves territorial control, physical tackling, and simulated projectile weapon use, kicking the ball. Data points align with historical records of skirmishes for resource control. Activity weightlifting involves individuals pushing their physical limits to the point of muscle failure and discomfort. This mirrors training regimens designed to increase physical resilience for combat endurance. Activity attending live performance of aggressive music involves high-volume sonic bombardment causing physical vibration, chaotic group movement, and synchronized high-energy vocalizations. This closely matches psychological preparation rituals observed in some aggressive tribal species before raids. The insectoid psychological expert added, their frequent engagement in activities involving perceived danger, speed, height, physical collision, suggests an unusual relationship with risk. While other species avoid unnecessary danger during rest, humans appear to seek controlled danger. This indicates a potential innate comfort with chaotic or perilous environments. Zorp sighed, a soft, whooshing sound. So, when they are not under threat, they invent ways to feel like they are? Analysis suggests this is a plausible interpretation, Unit 7G confirmed. It is possible these activities serve to release pent-up energy or aggression that, in other species, might lead directly to conflict. For humans, it appears to be the alternative to conflict, yet the methods resemble it so closely. The team was quiet for a moment, processing the strangeness of it all. They had expected to report on calming baths and shared meditations. Instead, they had to report that humanity unwound by doing things that looked like they were getting ready to fight, or were already in a minor fight. Prepare the full report, Unit 7G, Zorp finally ordered, his voice low. Include all supporting data, the statistical comparisons, and the psychological experts' analysis. This is significant. The Galactic Council needs to understand what we've found. He looked back at the view screen, showing the blue and green swirl of Earth. A species that relaxed like this. It was both strangely fascinating and deeply concerning. The galaxy had just gotten a lot more interesting, and possibly a lot more dangerous, depending on how you looked at human fun. With the startling conclusion reached, Zorp Glorbax and his team prepared the final report on humanity. It was a very long document, filled with numbers, graphs, videos, and the formal conclusion. Human stress relief activities look statistically just like active warfare. Sending a report to the Galactic Council wasn't like sending an email. It involved complex subspace signals that traveled across vast distances instantly. The data was packaged securely, encrypted, and sent to the Council's central hub in a far-off nebula. Back in the nebula, the Galactic Council meeting hall was an enormous quiet space. Representatives from hundreds of species sat in their designated areas, some floating, some in tanks, some on platforms, some simply connected through mental links. They discussed important matters, trade routes, new discoveries, and keeping the peace. Today's session included receiving the latest survey reports. A central holographic projector displayed the name of the incoming report. Species Survey, Sol 3, Earth, Subject, Humanity. The Council's administrative AI, a calm, synthesized voice, announced, receiving survey data from Team Glorbax, Sol 3 assignment. Processing. Summary projection beginning. A smaller hologram appeared, showing a simplified version of Zorp's report. The council members watched with mild interest at first. It showed pictures of human cities, vehicles, and crowds. Then it moved to the section on downtime and stress relief. Images of humans playing the rough ground game appeared. Council members who looked like delicate crystal structures pulsed with confusion. Beings who communicated through gentle light patterns dimmed slightly in disbelief. The report showed humans throwing themselves down snowy slopes, jumping into water from high platforms, and running until they collapsed. It played audio clips of the loud music and the shouting crowds. As the summary reached the data analysis, The council members became visibly unsettled. The graphs comparing human fun to historical conflict metrics caused ripples of confusion and alarm throughout the hall. Finally, the administrative AI read the main conclusion aloud. Based on observation cycles and comprehensive data analysis of activities designated by subjects as stress relief, recreation, and hobbies, the statistical probability indicates human stress relief activities are statistically indistinguishable from active warfare. A stunned silence fell over the council hall. Indistinguishable from warfare, relaxation. It didn't make any sense to beings who meditated in silence or shared pleasant thoughts to unwind. A tall, plant-like council member, Ambassador Flora of the Viridians, extended a leafy appendage in confusion. How could a species find peace in actions that mirror aggression? She projected telepathically to the others. A representative from a species that resembled flowing water, known as the Aquarians, shifted uneasily in their containment unit. Their methods of fun involve physical impact and loud disturbances. Our stress relief involves harmonic resonance and gentle currents. The air in the council hall began to fill with a murmur of confused and concerned thoughts. Warfare and relaxation were opposites. To see them described as statistically the same was deeply unsettling. What kind of species was this humanity? And what did this mean for the rest of the galaxy? The Council had received many strange reports over the cycles, but this one was perhaps the most baffling and potentially alarming yet. The humans of Earth were proving to be a true enigma. The stunned silence in the Galactic Council Hall didn't last long. It was replaced by a wave of confused and worried communication. Holograms flickered as council members from different species tried to understand the report from Zorp Glorbax's team. "This data must be flawed," projected a being made of pure light, known as a lumina. "No intelligent species finds peace in simulated conflict. It is illogical." "But the statistics are clear," responded a member from a species that resembled a large, ancient tree. His voice was slow and deep. "Their energy outputs, their physical actions, their very biological responses during relaxation match warlike behavior patterns, documented across millennia and light years." A debate began, spanning hours in Earth time. Some council members argued that this finding meant humans were an inherently aggressive species, always ready for a fight, even when they thought they were resting. They suggested increased surveillance and strict limits on humanity's expansion into the galaxy. "If their fun looks like war, imagine what their actual war looks like," chirped a nervous insectoid representative, clicking its mandibles. Others argued that perhaps this was simply how humans released tension, a strange but ultimately harmless cultural practice. Maybe, they suggested, by engaging in these intense activities, humans avoided real conflict. "Consider," offered a fluid, shape-shifting delegate. "Perhaps these actions are a unique form of social bonding or physical conditioning. While it appears aggressive to us, the intent among themselves might be different." Ambassador Flora of the Viridians spoke again, her voice gentle but firm. "The report does not state they are fighting each other with hostile intent during these activities. It states the activities themselves resemble warfare metrics. There is a difference. But it is a difference that makes them deeply unpredictable." The head of the council, a wise old being from a species that had witnessed the rise and fall of empires, listened patiently. Finally, he addressed the assembly. "The data from Sol 3 is unlike any we have received," he rumbled. "It suggests a species with an extraordinary capacity for intensity, even in moments of leisure. We cannot ignore these findings." The council debated the best course of action. Simply ignoring humanity was not an option. They were expanding and developing quickly. Directly engaging them seemed risky given their unusual relaxation habits. After much discussion, a decision was made. Based on the report, Earth and humanity would be reclassified, not as immediately hostile but as Category 5, unpredictable, high intensity. This meant galactic ships would keep a greater distance, diplomatic approaches would be highly cautious, and surveillance would continue. More importantly, the Council issued a galaxy-wide advisory to all member species. Be advised regarding humanity of Sol 3. Their methods of stress relief and recreation involve activities statistically indistinguishable from active warfare. Approach with extreme caution, and do not provoke them during their designated free time. So, across the vastness of the galaxy, the many different alien species received the strange news. They learned about the species from Earth that relaxed by running mock battles, throwing themselves from heights, and immersing themselves in deafening noise. The universe had expected humans to be many things: explorers, scientists, maybe even warriors in the traditional sense, but a species that found peace, fun, and stress relief in activities that looked exactly like war. That was new. And as the Council members returned to their home worlds, they all pondered the same thought. What did that say about humans? And what would they do next? The galaxy watched, keeping a careful and slightly nervous distance.